This weekend is the Shore Classic, and it's more importantly the return of the GOAT, Zydrunas Savickas. This man, in many people's eyes, is the greatest of all time, including myself. But we haven't seen the best of Zydrunas since 2017. He's done a few small shows recently, but this is it now, stepping in against the best in the world. Now, if you're a new fan to the sport, or if you've been living under a rock, let's take a quick look at some of Zydrunas' amazing achievements.
Zydrunas Savickas is a 4-time winner of the World's Strongest Man, 2-time winner of the IFSA World Championships, an 8-time winner of the Arnold Strongman Classic. He's 16 times Lithuania's strongest man. He is still the current record holder for the log lift. He is the oldest man to have won the World's Strongest Man, which he did in 2014, aged 38 years and 258 days. He's a 12-time World's Strongest Man finalist. He's competed in over 135 international competitions with 73 competition wins, far more than anyone else. And it's been 25 years since his first World's Strongest Man appearance in 1996.
And that really is just scratching the surface. Zydrunas is just an incredible athlete. You kind of have to give him the title of greatest of all time right now, not just for the amount of titles he's won, which is way more than anyone else, but also the records that he's broken, still holding a number of world records, and the longevity that he's had in the sport. Now, we often talk about Mark Felix. I know, we all know that Liz loves Mark, and he is a legend of the sport. And we kind of praise him for the age he is and still competing. But Zydrunas isn't that far behind in terms of age, and he's been competing longer than Mark. His career goes all the way back to Magnus Verm Magnusson days.
Yeah.
Zydrunas has gone through so many transitions in the sport. He's gone through the Magnus Verm Magnussons, he's gone through the Magnus Samuelssons, Sven Carlsons, the dominance of someone like Mariusz Pudzianowski. Then Zydrunas started to come into his prime, beating the likes of Pudzianowski. Then he saw the emergence of the Brian Shaws, the Derek Poundstones, onto the Thors, the Eddies, all these incredible athletes that we're seeing right now, to the likes of Tom Stoltman, Kiriashkovsky, Lissis. He's gone through all these incredible athletes, and he is still here competing, and he's back at the Shore Classic to prove he is still one of the best of all time, and still one of the best currently. Now, realistically, how can he do this weekend? We've been looking at the Strongman archives, and it was 2017 was the last time we really saw Zydrunas competing at the highest level and doing well.
Yeah.
He's done a few big shows since then. Not the best performances for a man of that caliber. He's had some time off. He's done a few warm-up shows recently, which he's won every single one of them. I think 3 shows he's done in a row. Won Lithuania's Strongest Man. He won the Baltic Strongest Man. But the Shore Classic is a massive step up, and he gets to go head-to-head with his ultimate rival, Brian Shaw, one more time. So realistically, how do you think Zydrunas can do? Can he come back and roll back the years and shock the world one more time and win this competition? Do you think that's possible?
I think if anyone can, Zydrunas can. Now, we've been together quite a long time now, haven't we? And we've seen Zydrunas go through some stuff during that time, sort of peaks and troughs and waves and stuff. We've seen him go through some quite horrendous injuries also. And we've thought, well, maybe this is it, maybe this is it. And then he's come back and surprised us, and we sort of kick ourselves, like, never count out Zydrunas. You've always said that. Yeah. So for those reasons alone, I think never count out Zydrunas. Realistically, I think this is going to be really hard. It's 2 days of tough competition, 8 events, and the standard, it just gets better and better. Let's not forget, it was just a couple of weekends ago where we watched, 5-7 men deadlift 1,000 pounds from standard height. It's just insane right now. But I think a lot of people think of the Zydrunas and the Brian era as the most difficult, and in some respect for the rest of the athletes it was, because those two were so dominant. But now the depth of talent, all the way from the top to the bottom, when you're looking at the 20 best guys in the world, that's stronger. That's all risen up overall. So I do think it's going to be hard for Zydrunas, but I so want him to do well.
I kind of agree with you, really. I mean, I've watched some of his training. He's looking very good. You know, we've seen him do a 200 kilo log recently in one of his last competitions, which is absolutely world class.
Yeah.
But let's remember, in his prime, Zydrunas wins the log every time in a competition.
Yeah.
It was his event. No one touches him. There's a couple of guys in this comp you think right now they're looking better than Zydrunas on the log. The likes of Bobby Thompson, the likes of Graham Hicks, a couple of other guys in there that will be in the mix as well. You just mentioned 7 guys pulled 1,000 pounds. Now, we've got the Hummer tire deadlift, which is a different deadlift. And at one time, Zydrunas was the world record holder in this. But Zydrunas never pulled 1,000 pounds on a conventional deadlift. No. You know, the sport...
Until recently, most people haven't. This is still very new.
It is, but it just shows how things evolve. And guys like Brian and Zydrunas, myself when I was competing, like in the Royal Albert Hall a few weeks back, other guys that have you've kind of gone past your prime and you're just trying to hold on. You're not seeing the greatest performances from them. Still incredible performances. And someone like Zydrunas, 90% Zydrunas is still ridiculously dangerous. Plus you put into that his great experience that he's got. He knows how to compete. And one thing you've seen, and I've seen many times with Zydrunas, he doesn't get flustered.
No, oh, never.
He can have a bad event.
No.
He'll brush it off. He'll move on to the next one.
He'll do a bit of blowing breathing.
He'll do some heavy breathing, and then he's focused on the next event.
Yeah.
And he comes back and surprises people. So I don't think we're going to see any world record type performances from Zydrunas.
No.
But he will put in a good solid performance.
Of course he will.
And it's going to take... You know, the younger guys, the up-and-coming guys are going to have to be on their game to beat him.
Yeah.
He'll be waiting for any sort of mistakes. I think, realistically, he knows he's not the man he used to be. You know, he has to know that.
He's a smart man.
He is. And but he is capable of some amazing things. He still squats really well.
Yeah.
His log is still really good. I think the Hummer deadlift suits him more than a regular deadlift from the floor.
Yeah.
He's decent on yokes. You know, he can throw really well. There's no big weaknesses in Zydrunas' game.
Arm over arm would be the only thing that he would wish is not in this competition.
If you look historically through his career, it was not his best event.
He hates that event. I remember he's like, stupid event. And it's not often we see him get upset about anything, but he doesn't.
But I'm excited to see, you know, people are talking about Zydrunas come back, he's going to win. I really don't believe he's going to win. As much as I would love to see him win, you know, I don't want people kind of going away from this thinking, oh, Loz thinks Zydrunas
Why do you hate Zydrunas?
Yeah, I'll probably get that. I really don't. I still think he's the greatest of all time. But at his age, at what he's been through, the kind of gap away that he's had in terms of high-level competition, it's very difficult to keep at that level. We've seen it with Brian, and Brian stayed in the sport.
Yeah.
You know, Brian is still regarded as one of the best on the planet. You know, second at World's Strongest Man last year. He won the Shore Classic the year before. He is the favourite going into this year's Shore Classic.
But Brian had a tough couple of years prior to that, didn't he? He's, you know, sort of more middle of the pack, about 5th place in competition.
But what I'm saying is Brian has still stayed in that level. You know, Zydrunas had a good amount of time off. We saw him lose a lot of body weight. It's difficult to kind of keep coming back. We've seen him do it a few times. He'll fluctuate in body weight, go huge, come back down. He's just a unique individual. He kind of floats in. He's capable of such incredible things. And I think his experience will help him a lot in this show. Whether he can come and win,
that remains to be seen. I don't think he can win. I would love, oh my God, if the news came out, Zydrunas wins the Shore Classic,
I will do a forfeit. Any forfeit that you guys want if Zydrunas wins this show.
I won't.
Within reason. Things that we could actually publish on YouTube.
Oh yeah, but what, like losing your beard?
If Zydrunas wins this show, I'd be prepared to lose the beard.
Would you?
I just can't see it happening, as much as I would love to be proved wrong. But
where do you place him? There's 16 athletes here.
16 athletes and 16 great athletes. And, you know, we did our prediction video the other day.
We only did top 3 though.
Yeah, I've got Brian Shaw winning, JF Caron second, and Evan Singleton third.
I've got Brian, Trey, Evan.
And then you look at the whole list. I mean, it's a stacked lineup. You've got Adam Bishop in there, Graham Hicks. You've got Maxime Boudreau, who was second or third, at World's Strongest Man. But coming off, he got injured at Canada's Strongest Man.
He's also got his 2 worst events in this, yoke and deadlift.
Yeah, which kind of, it
might be enough to keep him off the podium, but we don't know. A few guys are carrying injuries. Maybe this works in Zydrunas' advantage.
Maybe
it
does.
Climbing up that ladder.
I'm really excited seeing how he does. I mean, Jerry Pritchett's in this show. I mean, you just go down the list and you think, damn, it's good guy. Kevin Ferris.
Yeah,
good. It's awesome athlete after awesome athlete. They're all so good these days. And you mentioned earlier, it's that strength in depth which makes it so hard to predict. I think it's an extremely hard show to predict, all those kind of positions, other than I've put Brian at coming out winning because of the ability to cope with the altitude, the home advantage, which is a very real thing.
And then just to add those on top of the fact that he's
still an incredible strongman.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in his favour. I mean, the organisation side of things will take it out of him, so there's that, which is a negative. But I think it's going to be very hard to beat Brian looking at the events.
Yeah.
But Zydrunas is a danger man for anyone, and I think all of us as fans are looking forward to seeing Zydrunas against Brian again, because that was just the battle we had for 8 years. It was back and forth between those two guys at World's Strongest Man and the Arnolds and many big international shows.
And we haven't seen anything close to that sort of rivalry since, have we? Nothing close. People have talked about, it will be these two head to head now, but nothing's transpired because of injuries.
We've seen talks. People spoke about Kiliashkovsky and Lissis having battles, but both of them have been injured for the last few years. And then you've got the likes of Novikov has come swooping in, Tom Stoltman, and a whole host, and I say it every time we're on, but a whole host of brilliant young athletes that are just getting better and better and better. The first time I beat Zydrunas, I was sad. I was upset because I saw him, he was the man on my way up. And, I looked up to him and it was like, I beat him, but it wasn't really him. I kind of remember him at his absolute best. And I think at his best...
That was the Zydrunas you wanted to be.
Yeah. He was such an incredible strongman. And it was almost disappointing for me seeing this hero of mine that was just not the guy he used to be.
Not quite himself.
And that's the only worry I have. I would hate for him to keep going and just be making up numbers.
But if he's happy, does it matter?
Not at all.
He's happy and that's what he wants to do and he's taking joy from that. Who is anyone to say when it's time to...
Absolutely.
To
and everyone's different. Everyone has different thoughts. I'm the kind of person I like to be either getting better or be competitive.
Yeah.
If I don't feel I can be competitive, then it's time to step back, and that's why I have. But I still respect the guys like Felix and, Zydrunas has done it for a couple of years. We think, he came 10th at World's Strongest Man the last time he was there. He's been low placing in a number of shows that he used to just dominate.
Yeah.
I saw it with Andy Bolton. Andy Bolton was the greatest deadlifter on the planet, and he kept going and going. And, he even still competes now. And I totally get it. He just wants to, he just loves it.
He genuinely loves it, yeah.
And you have to admire that. But it's just everyone's different. Everyone has different thoughts. I admire the guys like Eddie and Thor that go out on top. And that creates a legacy, I guess, terms of people always think of them at that level.
Yeah, and they'll also always say, imagine how many he could have won. Of
course.
They don't know that you would have lost your second one.
Well,
they don't know, do they?
You don't.
You almost become a mythical creature.
You do. And Zydrunas, to me, was that mythical creature. He was just unbeatable, but he just kept going and going. But like you said earlier, he's gone up and down. We've seen him come back and suddenly shock everyone. 2016,
he was suffering with serious nerve damage, and we were certain that was the last time we were like, no, he's definitely done that. 2016, he comes to the Giants Live World Tour Finals against Kiliashkovsky. Good names, and he wins.
It was like 17, I think.
2017. That's what I said, and he wins.
Anyway, guys. We just wanted to do this video quickly on Zydrunas because he is such a hero to so many people that watch the sport. He's elevated the level of the sport, and he conducts himself in such a brilliant way.
Always, yeah.
He's just, a real gentleman, classy champion.
Yeah.
He'll always be a champion in my eyes. I'm excited to see if at 46, after nearly 30 years, I think he said he's done 30 years of strongman, which is mental. Most people can't do 5 to 10 years in the sport. 30 years is just brutal. Competed against all the greats. Can he float in one more time and still be one of the best on the planet? While you're here, guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my awesome strength content.